The clock is ticking. I'm getting on a ferry, watching the mainland shrink, and the timer has only just started. In 48 hours, I've planned to experience the absolute best of the Isle of Wight. From the private playground of a queen to the most dramatic coastline in Britain. The island is also packed with history and landscapes that demands you to stop and stay. Driving across the island might take an hour or so to truly experience it, but that's a whole other story. The real challenge is the clock. Can you actually do it? Can you see the highlights without feeling the stressful race against time? Well, I decided to find out. I'm driving from the Osborne house to the Needles and hitting some of the can't miss landmarks in between, all inside 2 days. I am also going to show you the absolute must-see spots and the highlights that make each one worth your precious time. Most importantly, I'm going to share some crucial tips I wish I knew before I came, to save you time and money, to turn a good trip into a great one. Let's go. The adventure doesn't start when you get to the island. It starts on the water. And the ferry journey is the perfect separation from mainland the moment you set sail. I also travelled over with the Wight link ferries from Leamington. But you've also got options like the red funnel ferries. But here's my possibly and most important tip. Book your ferry tickets way in advance. The prices can vary widely, so booking early and being a little flexible with your crossing times can literally save you money that could be spent elsewhere. My route was ambitious but calculated. Day one was a journey through power and royalty, starting at the Osborne house, the lavish holiday home of Queen Victoria, before heading inland to the medieval fortress of Carisbrooke Castle. Day 2 would be all about the island's raw natural beauty, taking in the last surviving windmill at Bembridge, and then the final scenic push along the famous military road to a grand finale, the Needles. For me, this wasn't about just getting from A to B, it was about what you do when you get here. So with the plan in motion, it was time for the first stop, the Osborne house. It once belonged to Queen Victoria and Prince Albert as their beach getaway family home. But remember that the scale of this place is so immense, you need to allow 2 to 3 hours minimum. It's not just the house. You have to walk through the magnificent garden that rolls down towards the Solent and explore the Queen's private beach. You can also visit the Swiss cottage tucked away in the woods. This was the playhouse for the 9 royal children. And for another crucial tip, so your experience can be very different depending on the time of year throughout off-season. From November to March, access to the house is restricted, and sometimes it's only by guided tour, which might only just get you onto the ground floor. And if you're planning on visit outside the summer months, I recommend checking the English Heritage website before you go. This could completely change your schedule if you were planning on getting lost in all the details. Knowing this in advance is key to making a 48-hour plan work, but the clock was ticking and it was time to leave the Victorian era behind. From a royal palace to a royal prison, a short drive inland towards the island's capital brings you towards Carisbrooke Castle. Perched on a hill with the stone walls dominating the landscape, this place feels like the complete opposite of Osborne. It's rugged, ancient, and has a much more turbulent history. But it's most famous for the place where King Charles I was imprisoned before his execution. Walking the castle's high walls is an absolute must. You get these breathtaking 360 views across the Isle of Wight. The path can be a bit uneven, so my tip is to wear decent comfortable shoes. But the castle has some other famous residents. For centuries, donkeys have worked the 16th century tread wheel, walking inside a giant wooden wheel to draw water up from the castle deep well. The donkeys are celebrities in their own right, and you can meet them in their stables. It's a wonderful family-friendly part of the experience that breaks up the serious history. And again, give yourself a good 2 to 3 hours to complete. And with the Norman Keep to explore, the Princess Beatrice Garden to wander through, and an excellent museum that provides a fantastic dose of medieval grit to contrast with Osborne's glass. So now with day one sides completed, it was time for some seaside charm. Now after a packed day's activity, there is only one way to end it properly on the Isle of Wight. I headed to the seaside town Alum Bay and had a satisfying meal on the seafront. And the location is perfect, overlooking a long stretch of golden cliffs, and they serve up exactly what you've hoped for. And here's a tip for anyone doing a packed itinerary like this. The island's popular seaside towns like Alum Bay and Shanklin has a much different feel during the evening. The day trippers have gone home, the pace slows right down and you get to experience a much more relaxed atmosphere. While the clock was still ticking, tomorrow we had a windmill, a lighthouse and a very famous road to conquer. On day 2, I'm heading east to see the island survivor. The Bembridge windmill is the only surviving windmill in the entire Isle of Wight, and it's cared for by the National Trust. The windmill was constructed in the 1700s and was a working mill for nearly 200 years, grinding flour up until 1913. You also get to climb all the floors within the windmill, following the journey of grinding flour. You then get to see a massive grinding wheel with exceptional views through the little windows. Now here's a personal tip, especially if you've got kids. Look out for the little mice placed around the windmill by the National Trust, who will tell you the story through their eyes. And I would also recommend allowing a good 2 hours to fully explore everything. It's a fascinating step back into the island's industrial past and a perfect start to our second day. Driving south towards the coast, we head to one of the highest points in the island. It was constructed in 1328, and the story goes that a local landowner built it as punishment after he got caught stealing cases of wine from a shipwrecked church vessel. For his sins, it is said that he had to build this oratory and the lighthouse, which was much closer to the shipwreck. And here's another tip. Getting to it is part of the adventure. You park at the viewing point car park, head across the road and make your way up to the oratory. From there it's about a 400-meter walk uphill across a field that can be uneven, but the reward is worth it with views off the south coast. The oratory itself is locked, but you can walk all the way up to it if you are keen to get your steps in. With panoramic views of the island's coast and the English Channel stretching in the horizon, it seemed like the perfect place to pause before our final leg. There's a few places to stop within this area, so I do recommend taking advantage if you've got the time. From the high point to the beaches, we joined the A3055, better known as the Military Road, and it has miles of scenic views. And here we are heading towards the Needles, and you can walk the path towards the old and new batteries at our historic military forts if you wish to see them. This is where you get that classic postcard shot, and to truly appreciate the scale you have to get down to beach level. And by doing that, I'd recommend taking the chairlift. Checking out the beach here is an absolute must. You get to view the multicolored Cliffside beach with different colored layers of sand, which is perfect for a souvenir. Once you're on the beach, I recommend taking the boat trip. Several short boat trips are on from here, which gives you close-up views of the Needles rocks and the lighthouse. Looking out from the cliffs, I can truly say this was a good challenge. And with a mad dash across the island, it was absolutely worth every effort. And here we are, my 48-hour challenge completed. From the Osborne house to the Needles in just 2 days shows that it is absolutely possible. I have tried my best to pronounce all the stops correctly, so remember to drop a like and let me know if you've done a similar challenge. Many of the island's top attractions are run by the English Heritage or the National Trust. Their opening times can vary depending on the season, so all you need is a good plan. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and I will catch you on the next one.